He never thought his life would change with just one letter. The letter came on a quiet afternoon, sealed with red wax and written by a lawyer he had never met before. Inside were a few simple words. You have inherited a property. A mansion, left behind by a distant uncle. He read the words again and again. A mansion? It sounded impossible. He lived in a small apartment, worked a normal job, and barely made enough to survive. But the letter was real. His uncle, a man he barely knew, had left him a giant house on the edge of the countryside. At first he felt excited. Who would not be happy to inherit a mansion? He imagined wide halls, grand staircases, and large windows filled with sunlight. He imagined a library with thousands of books and a garden filled with flowers. For once in his life, he thought he was lucky. The next morning, he packed a small bag and traveled by train to see the place. The journey was long, and as the train moved farther away from the city, the landscape changed. The tall buildings disappeared, replaced by empty fields, dark forests, and quiet villages. The further he went, the more he felt as if he was leaving behind the modern world. By evening, he reached a small station. A driver was waiting for him, holding a sign with his name. Without a word, the driver guided him into a black car. They drove through narrow, twisting roads where tall trees leaned over as if whispering secrets to each other. The sun sank lower, painting the sky in shades of red and gold, and the world grew darker with every passing mile. Finally, the car stopped in front of two tall iron gates. The gates were old, covered with vines and half rusted, but they opened slowly as if they had been waiting for him. Beyond the gates, a long road stretched into the distance. At the end of the road stood the mansion. His heart beat faster. The mansion was huge, far bigger than he had imagined. Its dark towers reached toward the sky, and its windows glimmered faintly in the fading light. The walls were covered with ivy, and the garden around it was wild and unkept. The air felt cold, almost heavy, as if the house itself was watching him. He stepped out of the car. The driver handed him the keys, nodded once, and drove away without saying a single word. Now he was alone. The front doors creaked as he pushed them open. Inside, the mansion smelled of dust and old wood. The hall was massive, with tall ceilings and a chandelier that looked like it hadn't been lit in years. The floor was covered in red carpet, faded and torn at the edges. Portraits of old faces hung on the walls, eyes following him wherever he moved. He whispered to himself, "This is mine." But the words sounded weak in the empty air. As he explored, every sound seemed louder, the echo of his footsteps, the groan of the floorboards, even the rustle of the curtains. The house was silent but not peaceful. It felt alive. He entered the kitchen and found plates stacked neatly but coated in dust. In the dining hall, the long table stretched across the room, as if waiting for guests who never arrived. In the library, rows of books stood tall, but many were left open, as though someone had been reading and left in a hurry. He frowned. The lawyer had told him the mansion had been empty for years. But why did it look as if someone had been living here not long ago? As night fell, he returned to the main hall. He lit a single candle and placed it on a small table. Shadows stretched across the walls, long and strange. He sat down in a chair, trying to calm himself. Then he heard it, a sound. Faint but real, it came from upstairs. A soft footstep. Then another, slow, careful, almost like someone was trying not to be heard. He froze, his heart racing. The lawyer had said the mansion was empty. He was supposed to be alone, but he was not alone. The footsteps stopped and silence filled the hall again. He stood up slowly, holding the candle high, its flame flickering in the draft. His eyes scanned the grand staircase, the dark hallway above, the shadowy corners. Nothing moved. He told himself it was just the house settling, just the wind. Old houses made strange noises, but deep down he knew better. Something or someone was inside the mansion, watching, waiting. And his inheritance was not what it seemed. The first night inside the mansion was long and restless. He had locked the front doors, checked the windows, and told himself 100 times that the place was empty. Still, he could not shake the memory of those footsteps upstairs. Every creak of the old house made him sit up straight, holding his breath. When morning finally came, he felt relief. Sunlight streamed through the cracked curtains, painting golden lines across the dusty floor. In the daylight, the mansion seemed less frightening, almost normal. He laughed quietly at himself, trying to push away the fear. Just the wind, he whispered. Just the old house making noise. But deep down, the doubt remained. After a quick breakfast from the food he had carried, he began exploring the mansion more carefully. He wanted to understand his new inheritance, to see every corner of the house. He started with the ground floor. The dining hall was massive, with a table long enough to seat 20 people. But what caught his attention was the dust. Most of the table was covered in a thick layer of it, but not all. At the far end, one section looked clean, as if someone had touched it recently. He leaned closer and saw faint marks like small fingers had rested on the wood. His skin prickled. In the kitchen, he noticed something even stranger. A loaf of bread he had left on the counter last night was half gone. He was sure he had left it untouched. Now it looked torn apart, crumbs scattered across the surface. His heart raced. If no one else was here, who had eaten it? The silence of the kitchen pressed in around him. He quickly left and moved deeper into the house. The library was next. It was one of the largest rooms, filled with shelves from floor to ceiling. Dust covered most of the books, but here too he saw signs of life. A ladder stood against the shelf. A book had fallen to the floor and another was open on the table. The open book was strange, filled with diagrams of stars, planets, and alien symbols he did not recognize. He frowned. Why would his uncle own a book like this? And who had been reading it? The more he explored, the more uneasy he became. Room after room showed small hints of activity. Blankets moved slightly, curtains tied differently, doors not fully shut. Nothing big, nothing clear, but enough to suggest someone was here. Someone living in the mansion. By afternoon, he returned to the main hall. He stood under the chandelier, staring up at the grand staircase. His mind filled with questions. Was it a squatter, a thief, a servant who never left, or was it something else? He had to know. Slowly, he climbed the stairs. Each step creaked loudly under his weight. The upper hallway was long and narrow, with many doors on each side. He opened the first door. It was just a guest room, dusty and untouched. The next room was the same, and the next, but at the fourth door, he froze. The bed was neatly made, the sheets smooth and clean. A small glass of water sat on the table, and beside it lay an apple, fresh, red, and recently bitten. He stared at it in shock. This was proof. Someone had been here only minutes ago. His pulse quickened. He backed out of the room, his eyes scanning the hallway. It was silent, but he could feel it, the sense of being watched. The air was heavy, the shadows deep. Suddenly, a soft sound came from the far end of the hall. A whisper, or maybe a breath. He turned quickly, holding his breath. At the very end, near the last door, something moved. Just for a moment. A shape, small and quick, disappearing into the shadows. He felt his legs tremble, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. Candle in hand, he walked slowly toward the last door. The hall felt colder with each step. The door was slightly open. He reached out, his fingers brushing the wood, and pushed it open wider. The room inside was darker than the rest, curtains drawn tight. The smell was different too, clean, almost sweet, not like the dust-filled air of the mansion. He stepped inside, heart pounding. On the desk was a small object that made him stop. A silver pendant glowing faintly with a soft blue light. He picked it up carefully, and the glow became brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then he heard it again. A sound behind him. He spun around quickly, and for the briefest moment he saw her. A figure at the edge of the shadows, slender with glowing eyes that reflected the candlelight. Her hair fell around her face and her skin shimmered faintly, almost as if it was not human at all. Their eyes met. His breath caught in his throat. But before he could speak, before he could move, she vanished. The door creaked shut on its own, leaving him alone in the darkness. He stood frozen, the glowing pendant still in his hand. His mind raced with disbelief. An alien here, living inside his mansion? The footsteps from the first night, the food, the rooms, the books. It all made sense now. This inheritance was more than just a house. It was a secret no one had told him about. He could not sleep that night. The glowing pendant still rested on the table beside him, its soft blue light pulsing in the dark. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her, those glowing eyes staring at him, that faint shimmer on her skin. It was no dream. He had seen her with his own eyes, but what was she? And why was she here? The mansion was silent, but he knew she was somewhere inside, hiding, watching. At midnight, a sound woke him. A soft thud followed by the faint creak of a door. He sat up quickly, candle in hand, and listened. The sound came from the library. He hesitated, fear gripping his chest, but curiosity pushed him forward. He needed answers. Slowly, he made his way down the long hallway and into the main hall. His footsteps echoed, but beneath them, he could hear it, the faint shuffle of movement. He reached the library and pushed the heavy door open. The room was dim, lit only by the moonlight streaming through the tall windows. Rows of books towered around him, their shadows stretching like dark fingers. Then he saw her. She was standing near the desk, her back to him, her hand resting on an open book. Her hair glowed faintly, catching the moonlight, and her skin shimmered like silver dust. For a moment, she didn't notice him. She turned a page slowly, carefully, like someone who had done this many times before. His breath caught in his throat. He whispered, "Who are you?" She froze. The room fell into silence. Slowly, she turned, and their eyes met again. Her eyes were large, glowing softly like twin stars. Fear flashed across her face, and in an instant she darted toward the shelves. "Wait!" he called, stepping forward. She moved quickly, faster than he imagined, slipping between the shelves like a shadow. He chased her, weaving through the rows, his candlelight flickering wildly. For a moment he thought he had lost her. Then he saw her crouched in a corner, trembling. He stopped, not wanting to scare her more. His voice was softer this time. "I'm not going to hurt you." She looked at him, breathing hard. Her lips parted as if to speak, but no sound came. Instead, she clutched the glowing pendant around her neck, the same as the one he had found in the upstairs room. The two pendants glowed brighter, pulsing in rhythm. You live here?" he asked. For the first time she spoke. Her voice was soft, musical, and strange. Yes, just one word, but it made his skin tingle. He took a careful step closer. "Why, who are you?" Her glowing eyes narrowed. "I cannot tell you. You should not be here. Well, this is my house," he said firmly. "I inherited it." Her expression shifted, surprise, then sadness. She shook her head slowly. Then, "He is gone." He realized she was talking about his uncle, the man who had owned this mansion before him. "You knew him?" She nodded once. "He saved me." His heart pounded. Saved her? From what? Who was she really? Before he could ask more, she suddenly stood and moved toward the window. "You must leave," she whispered. "It is not safe for you." "Not safe?" His voice trembled. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pressed her hand against the glass, looking out into the dark forest beyond. Her posture was tense, almost fearful, as if she expected something or someone to appear at any moment. He took another step closer. "Listen, I don't know who you are, but if you're in danger, I need to understand, please." For a moment, she turned back to him, her glowing eyes softening. He thought she might trust him, might explain everything. But then a sound echoed outside, distant, mechanical, not of nature. She stiffened instantly, her glow dimming as she pulled back into the shadows. "They are searching," she whispered. "If they find me, if they find you, both of us will be lost." His blood ran cold. "Who is searching for you?" She shook her head quickly. "No questions. You must forget me. Leave this place," but he couldn't. He had inherited this mansion, yes, but now he felt he had inherited something far greater. A mystery. A responsibility. "I'm not leaving," he said quietly. "Not until I know the truth." Her eyes flashed both fear and something else, hope. She studied him for a long moment, then whispered, "If you stay, your life will never be the same." He swallowed hard, his voice steady. "Then tell me, who are you?" The silence stretched between them, heavy and endless. At last she stepped forward, her shimmering figure closer now, her voice barely above a breath. "I am not from your world." The words struck him like lightning. He felt his knees weaken, his mind struggling to believe. Not from his world. An alien. Before he could react, she raised her hand, and the glowing pendant in her palm pulsed with light. The room filled with a strange hum, the books trembling slightly on the shelves, her eyes locked on his. "And now, because you found me, your world will change too." For a long moment he stood frozen in the library, staring at her glowing eyes. The words echoed in his mind. "I am not from your world." He wanted to laugh, to deny it, to call it madness. But he couldn't. The evidence was right in front of him. Her shimmering skin, her glowing pendant, her strange voice, it was all too real. She was not human. He swallowed hard, trying to find his voice. Then, "What are you doing here? Why are you in this mansion?" Her gaze dropped and her shoulders sank. She seemed suddenly smaller, more fragile, like a child burdened by secrets too heavy to carry. Slowly, she moved toward the desk and closed the strange book she had been reading earlier. "Long ago," she began softly, "I came from far away. My world is gone, destroyed in a war you cannot imagine. I had no family left, no home, nothing. I should have died, but I survived. I escaped." He listened, his heart racing. Each word drew him deeper into her story. "I was lost in the stars, hunted by enemies who wanted to erase my kind forever. My ship was damaged. It fell through your skies one night, burning like fire. I crashed here on Earth." She paused, her glowing eyes meeting his. "Your uncle found me. He was the first human I ever saw." He blinked, struggling to picture it. His quiet, distant uncle, rescuing an alien girl. It sounded impossible, yet the sorrow in her voice was real. "He did not fear me," she continued. "He hid me here in this house. He gave me food, water, and safety. He told me never to show myself, never to speak to anyone. He said humans were not ready to see me." He was right. A silence filled the room. The only sound was the soft hum of her pendant. "So you've been here all this time?" he asked. She nodded. "Years, alone, waiting, watching the world through windows. I could not leave, for if they discovered me, I would be taken. And if they take me, they will find more of your world to destroy." Her words struck him like a blade. "They, who are they?" Her face darkened. "The ones who ended my people. Hunters. They cross galaxies seeking to erase life that is different. They fear what they do not control." His stomach tightened. He wanted to say it was impossible, that such beings didn't exist, but deep inside he already knew it was true. The strange cars outside, the men asking questions in the village. This was what she feared. He stepped closer, his voice low. "So my uncle kept you safe here all these years. And now that he's gone, you're alone again." Her glowing eyes softened, sadness glimmering in them. Yes, alone. For a moment she looked so human, lonely, fragile, afraid that his fear melted away. He felt a strange pull, a need to protect her, though he barely understood why. He took a deep breath. "You don't have to be alone anymore." She blinked, startled. "What do you mean?" "This house belongs to me now, and if you're in danger, then I'll help you. I'll keep you safe like he did." Her lips parted in shock. She shook her head quickly. "No, you do not understand. If you stay near me, you will be in danger too. They are searching, already closer than you think. If they learn about me, they will come for you as well. You cannot fight them." His voice hardened. "Then let them come. I won't betray you." She studied him for a long moment, her glowing eyes searching his face. At last, a faint, almost invisible smile touched her lips. "You are different. Stronger than most." He almost laughed. "I don't feel strong, you will," she said softly. "Humans, you always rise when it matters most." The words sent a strange warmth through him, though the fear remained heavy in his chest. She moved closer, her pendant glowing brighter as she spoke. "There is something you must know. Your uncle did not only protect me, he learned from me. I shared pieces of my knowledge, secrets from the stars. He believed one day humans would need it," he frowned. "Knowledge? What kind of knowledge?" Her voice dropped almost a whisper. "The kind that can save a world. Or destroy it." His breath caught. He realized then that his inheritance was far greater than he imagined. It was not just the mansion, not just the land. It was her secrets, her survival. And now those secrets belonged to him. Suddenly a noise echoed from outside, the sharp crunch of tires on gravel. Both of them froze, her eyes widened with fear. "They are here." The sound outside grew louder, tires crunching over gravel, doors slamming shut. He rushed to the nearest window and peeked through the curtain. Two dark vehicles were parked just beyond the gates. Men in black coats stepped out, moving with sharp discipline, their eyes scanning the grounds. They weren't neighbors, and they weren't lost travelers. Their movements were too precise, too careful. "They are searching," the alien girl whispered, her voice trembling. He turned to her quickly. "For you?" She nodded. Her glowing pendant dimmed as if trying to hide its light. "They must not see me. If they find me here, everything is lost." He swallowed hard, his mind racing. A part of him wanted to run, lock himself in another room, pretend none of this was real. But another part of him, stronger than fear, told him he couldn't just abandon her. Hide, he said firmly. Go now. She looked at him, her eyes wide. And you? I'll deal with them. For a moment she hesitated, studying his face. Then she nodded and slipped silently into the shadows, vanishing like smoke into the dark hallway. He blew out the candle and hurried to the main hall just as the heavy knock rattled the front door. Bang, bang, bang. He froze, his heart thundering in his chest. Another knock followed, louder this time. Open up, a voice called, deep and commanding. He forced his shaking hands to unlock the door. It swung open and two men stepped inside, their sharp eyes sweeping across the hall. Behind them, more men stood outside, scanning the mansion's walls and windows. Can I help you? He asked, trying to sound calm. One of the men flashed a badge, though he didn't recognize the symbol. We're conducting an investigation. There have been reports of unusual activity in this area. Have you seen anything strange? His throat went dry. He thought of the glowing pendant, the alien girl hiding just upstairs. Strange? Nope, nothing. I just arrived yesterday. I inherited this place. The man's cold eyes narrowed. Inherited, huh? Alone? Yes, alone. The man studied him for a long moment, then stepped further inside. His partner began checking the rooms, opening doors without asking. Every step they took made his chest tighten. What if they found her? What if they discovered the truth? He forced himself to stay still, to keep his voice steady. What exactly are you looking for? Something unusual, the man said flatly. Something not human. The words sent a chill down his spine. He wanted to push them out, to yell at them to leave, but he knew that would only make them suspicious. So he stood there, pretending to be calm, while inside his fear screamed louder than ever. Minutes passed like hours. At last the men returned to the hall. They hadn't found her. For now, the man said, his eyes narrowing. If you see anything at all, you will contact us immediately. He nodded quickly. Of course, the men gave him one last long look before turning and leaving. The sound of their vehicles faded into the night, but the dread remained heavy in the air. He locked the door behind them, his hands trembling. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself upstairs. He found her waiting in the shadows, her glowing eyes filled with fear. They know, she whispered. They are close. Soon they will return. He leaned against the wall, his mind spinning. Then what do we do? You must let me go, she said quietly. If I stay here, they will find me. And when they do, they will destroy everything. Her words cut through him. Let her go? After everything he had seen? After hearing her story? He couldn't. But could he risk his own life for her? He looked at her, torn between fear and something deeper. Why should I trust you? He asked finally. How do I know you're not dangerous yourself? Her glowing eyes softened. She stepped closer, holding her pendant out to him. Because if I wanted to harm you, I could have done so the moment we met. But I didn't. I stayed hidden. I stayed silent. Because I hoped that maybe one human would understand. He stared at the pendant, its soft light pulsing gently like a heartbeat. In that moment, he knew she was telling the truth. She wasn't the danger. The danger was out there. Those who were hunting her. Still, fear gripped him. If he chose to trust her, his life would change forever. If he didn't, she would be taken and perhaps worse. At last he spoke, his voice low but firm. I'll protect you. Whatever it takes. For the first time, her face lit with something other than fear. Hope. But outside, far beyond the gates, headlights flickered again in the distance. The hunters were not finished, and he knew the hardest choice was still ahead. The night felt heavier than before. The air was cold, the silence thick. But beyond the silence, he could sense it. Danger was close. From the upstairs window, he saw the faint glow of headlights moving slowly along the distant road. The same kind of dark vehicles that had arrived earlier. His heart thumped hard in his chest. They weren't gone. They were circling, waiting, watching. He turned to her. The alien girl stood near the window, her glowing pendant dimmed to almost nothing. Her eyes were fixed on the horizon. She didn't speak, but he could see the fear in her trembling hands. They won't stop, will they? He asked quietly. She shook her head. No, they never stop. Once they catch the scent, they will hunt until there is nothing left. The words made him shiver. Downstairs, the old mansion creaked as the wind pushed against the walls. But every sound now felt sharper, more dangerous. He imagined footsteps outside, shadows moving in the garden, eyes watching from the forest. "We need to prepare," he said. "If they come back, we can't just wait here." She turned to him, her voice soft but firm. "You cannot fight them. They are not like you. They are stronger, faster. If they take me, you cannot stop them." "Maybe not," he admitted. "But I can try." Her eyes softened with something like sorrow. "You are willing to risk your life for me? A stranger? An alien?" He hesitated, then nodded. "You're not my enemy, and if my uncle believed in protecting you, then I will too." For a moment she looked at him as if seeing something rare, something she thought didn't exist. "Humans," she whispered. "Always choosing hope even when hope is small." They moved through the mansion together, checking doors and windows. He grabbed a heavy iron poker from the fireplace, the closest thing to a weapon he could find. It wasn't much, but holding it gave him courage. In the kitchen, he noticed something strange. Fresh, muddy footprints near the back door. His chest tightened. Someone had already been here. He crouched low, listening. The house was quiet, but the silence felt wrong. He motioned for her to stay back. Then came the sound. A soft click. A door latch turning. He spun around just in time to see the back door creak open. A shadow slipped inside. Tall, broad, moving with unnatural smoothness. Another figure followed, then another. They wore dark suits, their faces hidden under helmets with glowing red visors. The hunters. The alien girl gasped, clutching her pendant. The light inside it flared bright for a moment, then dimmed again. The hunters turned their heads sharply toward the glow. "Run," he whispered to her. "Go upstairs now." She hesitated, but then she obeyed, darting up the staircase with silent speed. He stood in the hall, gripping the iron poker tightly, his heart pounding like a drum. The hunters stepped forward, their movements calm and precise. One of them raised a hand, and a low humming sound filled the air. Some kind of device glowed on his wrist, casting sharp beams of red light across the walls. They were scanning the house. He forced himself to speak, though his voice shook. "You're trespassing. Get out of my house." The nearest hunter tilted his head, almost mocking. Then, in a voice cold and mechanical, it spoke. "The target is here. Stand aside, human." "Human." The word sent a chill down his spine. "She's not here," he lied quickly. "There's no one else in this house." The hunter raised its visor slightly, revealing dark, inhuman eyes that glowed faintly beneath. "You cannot protect her. Stand aside and you may live." His grip on the poker tightened. "No." For a second, the hunter seemed amused. Then it stepped closer, towering over him. The air between them felt electric, heavy with threat. Upstairs, a faint crash echoed. The alien girl had knocked something over while hiding. The hunter's head snapped upward. "There!" one of them hissed. Panic surged through him. Without thinking, he swung the iron poker hard. It struck the nearest hunter across the arm. The impact was useless. The hunter barely flinched, but it bought him a second. "Run!" he shouted again, this time louder. She appeared at the top of the stairs, her pendant glowing fiercely now, filling the hall with blue light. The hunters froze for a moment, their visors flickering as if the glow disrupted them. The girl raised her hand and the pendant pulsed. A shockwave of energy rippled through the air, knocking the hunters backward. Books fell from shelves, windows rattled, the chandelier shook. He stumbled back, shielding his eyes from the light. When it faded, the hunters were struggling to rise, their movements slower, unsteady. The girl's eyes glowed brighter than ever. "We must leave," she said urgently. "Now, or they will not stop." He nodded, his heart racing. "Then let's go." Together, they rushed through the mansion toward the hidden passage she revealed behind the library wall. The old stone door groaned as it opened, revealing a dark tunnel stretching into the earth. Behind them, the hunters roared, their footsteps shaking the floor. The danger was no longer outside. It was inside, and the mansion was no longer safe. The hidden passage was narrow and dark, the air damp and heavy with the smell of earth. Their footsteps echoed as they hurried down the stone steps, the faint glow of her pendant lighting the way. Behind them, the hunter's heavy boots thundered through the mansion, shaking the walls. He could hear the distant crash of doors, the roar of strange voices, the hum of their scanning devices. They were close, too close. "How far does this tunnel go?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "It leads to the woods," she said, her glowing eyes guiding them forward. "Your uncle built it long ago in case of danger." He knew this day might come. Her words made his chest tighten. His uncle had known. All this time had he been preparing for a battle that would one day fall into his hands. The tunnel twisted and turned, the walls damp and uneven. His legs ached, his breath came fast, but he didn't stop. Neither did she. At last, a faint breeze touched his face. The tunnel ended at a stone door half covered in roots and vines. She pressed her glowing pendant against it, and the stone shivered, sliding open to reveal the night sky. They stumbled out into the forest, the cool air sharp against their skin. For a brief moment he felt free. But then the sound came again, the hunters. They were not far behind. She turned to him, her voice urgent. "We cannot run forever. If they keep tracking me, they will find us and they will kill you." He shook his head. "I won't leave you." "You must," she cried. "If you stay, you will die. Humans cannot fight them. You cannot fight them." Her words cut deep, but he stood firm. "Maybe I can't, but I won't hand you over. Not after everything you've told me. Not after what you've been through." Her eyes glowed brighter, filled with something he had not seen before. Not just fear, but hope. Why risk everything for me?" He hesitated, then spoke from his heart. "Because you're not just an alien. You're alive. You're someone who deserves a chance. And if humanity means anything, it means standing up even when the odds are impossible." The forest around them shook with the sound of engines. Red lights flickered between the trees. The hunters were closing in. Her pendant pulsed with powerful light, casting shadows across the woods. She looked at him, her voice trembling. "There is another way. But it will change you." "What do you mean?" "My pendant, it holds the last gift of my people. Energy, knowledge, strength. If I give it to you, it will bind to you. You will no longer be the same. You will carry part of me inside you. But if I do this, there is no going back." His chest tightened. A choice. Stay human, normal, safe, or accept the unknown, risk everything, and stand against the hunters. "What happens if I refuse?" he asked, her eyes dimmed. "Then I must surrender myself. They will take me and you will live. But the hunters will grow stronger, and one day, they will come for your world too." The sounds grew louder, the crack of branches, the hiss of strange weapons powering up. He didn't have time to think. His mind screamed with fear, but his heart already knew the answer. He stepped forward. "Do it, give me the power." Her hands shook as she placed the glowing pendant against his chest. The blue light flared, blinding, wrapping around him like fire and ice all at once. His body trembled, his heart raced, and his vision filled with stars. When the light faded, he gasped for breath. Energy pulsed through his veins, his senses sharper, his strength greater. He looked at his hands, they glowed faintly like hers. She whispered, "Now you are more than human. Now you can stand." Through the trees the hunters appeared, their red visors cutting through the night. Weapons raised, they marched forward. He stepped in front of her, his new strength humming like thunder inside him. For the first time he didn't feel fear. The hunters stopped, their cold voices echoing. "Stand aside, human." He raised his glowing hand, his voice steady. "I'm not just human anymore." The forest shook as light flared between them. The battle was about to begin. And his choice to protect her, to fight for more than just himself, would decide not only her fate, but perhaps the fate of the world.